CM Punk's opening promo was not what you wanted it to be. Plus, you find out Bryan Danielson is responsible for the firing of CM Punk. And QT Marshall is on his way out the door from AEW. More on that after this intro. Yeah. Yo, what's happening, everybody? This is your boy, Erskmac The Mad Scientist. This is the Orange Phoenix Show, pro wrestling talk. There's been a lot of buzz going on in the pro wrestling world, all because of one man. And his name is CM Punk. That's right, CM Punk is back in the WWE at Survivor Series, made his appearance right at the end where you thought they was going to fade to black. And then all of a sudden, CM Punk, Dakota Personality song came on, and oh man, the crowd went ape shit. We talking over 70 million views on the internet and all that in between. But on Monday Night Raw, you know, they were so hype on this buzz that, oh, that's by the way, we're going to give you the first hour commercial free, and Punk will speak at the end of the show. But was it worth the 3 hours? I'm going to tell you right now, no, it wasn't worth the 3 hours. It wasn't worth the 3 hours. And honestly and truly, I did not watch the whole entire show because I know WWE well enough to the point that they over advertise and they underwhelm when it comes to weekly shows. Like the first segment, like the first hour was commercial free. You only saw one match, and that was a tag team turmoil match. And of course, my boy Randy Orton, one of my goats, speaks on the mic, and obviously you know who he's going to get interrupted by. The Judgment Day. Like Judgment Day interrupts everybody. So once I saw that, I changed the channel, watched Monday Night Football, and I was like, I'm gonna tune back in around 10:45, 10:50 because that's when Punk's gonna speak. And he spoke, and it didn't quite hit. Like, a lot of people was upset, like, oh man, I wasted 3 hours. Like, some people was upset because he didn't go off and bury AEW like people expected him to. Like, that was the speculation. They literally banked off that fact that he was going to speak on AEW. That's why WWE advertised the way they did. That was super smart of them because they got the rating that they want. They got the views that they want, and you didn't get what you want, and you didn't get it. So why is that? Why he didn't speak on AEW? Because maybe legally he can't do that, because they asked Tony Khan on Sunday, how does he feel about CM Punk being at Survivor Series? And he stated that he can't speak on that legally. Next question. That's what it is. Now, the only thing that he said was, I'm home and hell's frozen over, where technically that's been the phrasing WWE was using ad nauseum. The WWE posted it on Twitter. Michael Cole said it. Triple H said it. So now, when Punk says it, it don't have much of an effect. If you really want to dissect that promo, he's like, yes, I'm home. But to me, something was missing with that promo, and it's authenticity. And one thing I know about Punk, being a fan of his, is that he is very authentic in anything that he says. When he made his debut in AEW, you felt that because it was real. That stuff that was coming out of his mouth, the passion that he had, them tears that was welled up in his eyes when he spoke to that Chicago crowd in AEW, you felt that because it was real. Last night on Raw, it felt like it was written for him. Like it didn't connect with me. It really didn't. I'm not crapping on Punk or whatever the case may be, because I'm gonna jump on some of these fans, these fair weather fans, because Twitter has definitely been on fire, but it just didn't hit. It's like you said 5 to 10 minutes of nothing. That basically what it was. It didn't hit, and it wasn't connecting. Now, to the fan base that all of a sudden on the Punk's bandwagon, these are some of the same fans that say this man couldn't draw a dime. There's the same people that said that Punk is not a needle mover. But these are the same people that are what Stokely Hathaway used to say. Dick riding, CM Punk. Right now that he's with WWE, now he's with your company, all of a sudden all is well in the world. We're gonna forget about all the negative things you said about this man, how he couldn't draw money and all that other stuff. Oh well, it's nice to forgive and forget. We see you, and for that, you are not a true wrestling fan, man. You can't be a true wrestling fan. I feel like you are on Twitter just to troll people and just antagonize people. But the question is, what's next for CM Punk in the WWE? And that is Seth Rollins. That is going to be your WrestleMania main event. That's going to be your opening night main event. Like, a blind man can see that. The stories that's being told. What Seth Rollins has said on the mic before, that he's a cancer and I don't want to see him. And that whole spiel he did after Survivor Series where he was visibly upset, shooting the bird, throwing F-bombs and everything else in between, that's blurring the lines a little bit, and business will be conducted as such. And this will be the main event for the opening night at WrestleMania. Like, you can bank on that. Now, who CM Punk's opponent will be prior to that, we don't know. Who's gonna be his opponent? We just don't know. Like, he's not just gonna not wrestle anybody. He's not just gonna not being in a match. Like, he may be in a segment with Paul Heyman. He may be in a tag match. Like, to some capacity, he's going to be in a match before Seth Rollins. That's just what it is. Now, one of my concerns is injuries, because the last couple of times he's been in AEW ring, he's gotten injured. Like, something happened and he's been on the shelf for X amount of time, or whatever the case may be. That is my only concern when it comes to CM Punk. Like, I'm glad he made it there. I know some fans feel like he's a hypocrite, because there's a little bit of truth in that, because Punk for years has dog walked verbally the WWE. Like, Seth Rollins is not lying. Like, he's verbally eviscerated the WWE when he had the chance. Like, when he was in AEW, he let it ride. He let it rip. So to come back to the company that you dog walked verbally, like, that's a lot of crow to eat. Like, that's a lot of apologies being made. And honestly, to some people's eyes, you sold out to the man. The one that you were so rebellious for. The one thing that people loved about CM Punk is the fact that he's rebellious and he speaks his mind, and that's what it was. And that's probably another reason why that promo didn't connect with me, because I don't feel that same passion with him. And it's like, you just got fired from AEW. You just over here because you got paid. Like, you extended the olive branch out to them, because according to sources, WWE did not chase CM Punk. Punk made the call. And it's almost like you're trying to upstage AEW, because this is your last shot with professional wrestling. This is it. Like, once this is done, I feel like that is it for him. Like, I feel like this is where he's going to retire. This is how he wants to end it. And honestly and truly, I understand where his head is at. It's like how he wants to end his professional wrestling career. And I wish he could have ended in AEW, but things didn't work out the way it did. That's the past. That's what it is. But you can bank on Seth Rollins and CM Punk to face each other at WrestleMania. Now, the other bit of news that came out, strangely today, is that Bryan Danielson was on the disciplinary committee when it came down to CM Punk. Now, when AEW president Tony Khan discussed CM Punk being fired from AEW, he mentioned that he spoke with a discipline committee prior to making his final decision. Fightful Select reports that there was a 3-person committee, including AEW General Counsel Chris Peck and Bryan Danielson. Now, along with an outside attorney, Fightful noted the following regarding Danielson's role. When asking sources on AEW roster about his inclusion, one called him an appropriate moral compass who exemplifies objectivity. and said that he effectively headed up and was the face of the disciplinary committee. Danielson was said to have spoken to the roster when addressing them about Punk's termination and noted that the decision was particularly a hard one. He cited the positive that CM Punk brought and his long-standing friendship with Punk, but said it was a decision that had to be made. Now, earlier this year, Khan revealed that he wanted Danielson to book AEW shows if something ever happened to him. On Monday night, Danielson wrote the following by Twitter: "My dad always told me the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. It won't always make the most money. It won't always be the most popular, but it's still the right thing." I'm going to tell y'all something right now. For the people in Twitter, or for the people on social media that thinks that Tony Khan is making Danielson a scapegoat, nobody is going to make Bryan Danielson do anything. You understand? He writes his own destiny. He can retire right now and be a legend. You understand? And if anybody on social media wants to go after Bryan Danielson because of what he did, you are an idiot. You are a jackass. Why would you ever question one of the best professional wrestlers in the world on his decision on what took place? Because let's look at the tape. Let's rewind here a little bit. Like the whole situation at All Out in 2022, when he went after the Bucks, when he went after Hangman Page, when he went after Colt Cabana. All right, that was a first strike. Understandably, he was upset. Things happened. People got stripped of titles. People was on TV for a while. He comes back, heads up Collision, and you got the biggest show in AEW and professional wrestling history, and it gets overshadowed because one man could not control his temper, and he couldn't handle that in-house, or at least when they get back to the States. What is there for a boss to do? Like, you looking at younger talent saying, okay, a lot of people just saying fire Jungle Boy. Okay, that's your short-term answer for that? Because now that lets everybody else know in that locker room who's young that you are expendable. How do you think that's going to make other talent feel? You know what I mean? It's like, I might want to stay in line because I might do what they need. I might have to do what they tell me to do. Otherwise, I might get fired. I don't have a voice like they depict it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Punk already had 2 strikes against him already. The stuff he said in front of Tony's like sitting there dumbfounded. The altercation that happened in the back, which there's a lot of speculation on what happened. Who threw the first punch? Who pushed who? We don't know for sure. And then this whole thing with Jack Perry. Like, how much more can you take as a business? Because you concerned about money? I'm talking to the fans here. You that concerned about money being made that you just gonna overlook this? You're like, okay, with this person lesser than that guy, I'm gonna fire that guy. But anybody else that's young and up and coming gonna feel a sort of way. That's just what it is. Danielson did what's right. Like, he did what he thought was right. He didn't say it was an easy decision to make. He said it was a hard decision. You have a moral compass. You don't listen to what the majority thinks as far as the fan base goes. It's not going to make you the most money, but sometimes the best decision is the best decision, and it's a business decision. And with that being said, he went over to WWE. So for anybody that may go after Bryan Danielson, you're a jackass. Anybody that want to go after Tony Khan for making a business decision, you're a jackass. Like, you are a WWE stan. Like, the thing to me is that I feel like since WWE had a monopoly on the pro wrestling business for a number of years, I feel like that in itself poisoned some of these fans' minds and thinking this is the only way you can tell a story. Long segments, long talking segments, a few matches here and there. It was some people on social media saying that, hey, matches ain't that important. You full of shit. What made us fall in love with pro wrestling in the first place? The matches, the moments. Matches, it's several ways to tell a story. It ain't just one way. It just, WWE has supreme marketing. You understand? They have supreme marketing. And at one point, they wasn't the only act in town. Excuse me. It was WCW. WCW made bad business decisions. The board of directors made bad business decisions because it could just as easily been WCW having a monopoly and not WWE. And the same rule applies if WCW would have won the Monday Night Wars. The same rule would apply because people that only know of one wrestling company think this is the way it needs to go because it is the #1 wrestling company in the world. So maybe the reason why it's the #1 wrestling company in the world is because of X, Y, Z, and this is the status quo. This is the ceiling that you got to hit. That's not true. AEW is the alternative, and it focuses on pro wrestling. They open the show with a wrestling match. Sometimes they might open with the opening promo or whatever the case may be. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Stardom, whatever the case may be, wrestling matches. For asking a fan to stay and watch a 3-hour wrestling show every single week is a lot. That is a lot to ask for a fan these days. Attention span wise. If you're gonna do a 3-hour show, you better make it entertaining. For 3 hours, every Monday night, you're gonna lock out every Monday night from 8 to 11. That's very hard to do. That's very hard, and stay locked in for 3 hours every single week. If it's a pay-per-view, sure, that's different. Because you pay for that pay-per-view, you're gonna get your money's worth. That's what you're gonna get. But you have to get, for this fan base, you have to get out this mindset thinking this is the only way to tell stories. This is the only way to do perfect storytelling or whatever the case may be. If anybody knows how to tell a great story, is definitely WWE. I would say that. I would give it to them hands down. I am a WWE fan. I'm not shitting on WWE whatsoever. But what I'm saying is this ain't the end all be all. You get it? AEW tells stories too, but it tells stories in the ring. And they might sprinkle stories here and there, and they need to do more of that, and I agree. But don't think that WWE is the only way to perfectly tell a story, because it's not. Now, in other news, we got QT Marshall actually resigning. Now, on Monday, QT Marshall announced his resignation from AEW. According to HouseOfWrestling.com, Nick Hausman, people within AEW and WWE were not surprised by his decision. Now, Marshall was working as a backstage coach in AEW, but he reportedly wants to focus more on being an in-ring performer. Now, it was also said that Marshall's backstage influence started to deteriorate quickly when his friend Cody Rhodes left the company. It's believed that Marshall is primarily interested in wrestling for WWE rather than working at the Performance Center, since he already has his own training school. Hausman wrote, end quote, "Those we spoke with close to the WWE side said that they were skeptical that WWE would be interested in hiring Marshall strictly as a performer, but were unsure of how much pull Rhodes had at the moment." Now, Hausman also noted the following in regards to what Marshall wrote about AEW going in a different direction. Based on those I have spoke with close to Marshall, he was alluding to the fact that he believes AEW is heading in a more NJPW, New Japan Pro Wrestling related direction that is more focused on matches than storytelling. When asking around about why Khan is going that way, one source told me flatly, TK has always liked that style. Now, WrestlingPurists.com reported, according to similar about Marshall, according to AEW sources, QT Marshall was not a fan of some of the shifts in AEW creative and felt the company wasn't telling great stories the way they used to. In his view, putting on a bunch of high-end, high work rate matches with no story or build is being like New Japan Pro Wrestling, we're told. Wow. Now, to go back to Wrestling Purists, which is on Twitter, according to AEW sources, QT Marshall was not a fan of some of the shifts in AEW. And also, according to people in AEW, CM Punk didn't want QT Marshall to be part of Collision and didn't see QTV as a productive part of Powerhouse Hobbs' presentation. Tony Khan took the blame for the removal of QTV segments, which ultimately damaged Khan's relationship with Marshall. I mean, Punk was right, though. That's not a good way to present Powerhouse Hobbs, though. That's not a good way to present him. Like have him on some makeshift TMZ type stuff. It's not the best direction for him. What he's doing right now, with Don Callis being the man, like being big, black, and jacked. That's the way he should be depicted. He should be this dangerous person. Look closely on how they're pushing this man. This man destroyed Chris Jericho. This man put Big Show through a windshield. And nobody has touched him. And he's that guy. He's that dude. So just pay attention on how they're pushing these people. Now, if I had a critique of AEW, obviously it is the women's division. Continue to push the women's division. What I'm telling you right now is when it comes down to CM Punk is that I hope he has another opportunity to get on that mic, a second shot to get on that mic, to get a little bit more authenticity in what he's saying. But just Monday night, I just didn't feel it. It wasn't hitting. It wasn't hit for me. And honestly, felt like it was a waste of 3 hours. Other than Randy Orton, of course. But, same old Raw. Just a little sprinkle of CM Punk. We'll see. But do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button and notification bell for more pro wrestling talk. But until next time, y'all. Peace.